NFL draft nerds, welcome in to our final what I would do mock draft for the 2025 NFL draft. We are 1 week away, officially 1 week away. Thursday, April 17th. Next week, Thursday, April 24th, it is going to be the first round of the 2025 NFL draft. I'm fired up for it. Today, again, this is going to be my final what I would do mock draft. Not going to have trades because I don't think there are going to be that many trades. I really don't. I don't think this is the year for trades in the first round. Obviously, there will be a trade or two at least, but predicting them, very difficult the way things sit right now. So we're heading over to the PFF mock draft simulator and we are running through picks 1 through 32, first round of the 2025 NFL draft. I'm so excited to do it. Really appreciate y'all being here. It's all draft all the time here at Rogue Football. So if you enjoy the draft, if you enjoy the content, please like and subscribe. Helps the channel out tremendously. First overall pick, we are taking Cam Ward for the Tennessee Titans. Look, Cam Ward does have a true first round grade for me. He is the top rated quarterback for me by a wide margin. I think that his playmaking ability, his ability to throw off platform, odd arm angles, his athleticism, his arm talent, which to me is good, not great. In terms of the arm strength and the accuracy, I think very strong arm, not like upper echelon in the NFL, not Josh Allen, right? But very strong arm overall. Accuracy is a little bit more average to above average. But again, his ability to play make, to create, I think is going to be, if you have an offensive coordinator, an offensive coach worth their salt, they're going to be able to get Cam Ward to be a dangerous weapon in the NFL. And so that's the direction we're going for the Tennessee Titans with the first overall pick. He's ranked at 21 here by PFF. I have him a little bit higher than that in the teens. Look, I don't think he's on the level of any of the top 3 guys last year. I think he's more in that next tier, but I do think Cam Ward is a worthy first round pick, and taking a swing on a first round talent at quarterback has the highest potential advantage or highest potential to change your franchise out of any position in the NFL, right? And so if you've got an opportunity to get a guy like Cam Ward, I think you pull the trigger. Now, at number 2, the Cleveland Browns, I don't think Shedeur Sanders is a first-round pick. They need a quarterback in a big way. But again, this is not what I think they will do. This is not anything like that. This is just what I would do. If I'm the Cleveland Browns, I'm taking Travis Hunter all day. I can't pass up on him. I think he's the best corner in the draft. I think he's the best wide receiver in the draft. I think he's the best player in the draft, bar none. So Travis Hunter, sign me up all day. At number 3, New York Giants. Yes, they've got some edge rushers. Not stopping me from taking Abdul Carter. He is, to me, the 3rd best prospect in this class, and he plays one of the most valuable positions in the NFL. Abdul Carter is a incredibly athletic, violent edge rusher who is still just scratching the surface of what he could be after converting down to edge rusher from off-ball linebacker at Penn State. At number 4, the Patriots, this is an interesting pick. Do you want to protect the investment in Drake May with another offensive lineman? They certainly could use it, right? Do you want to draft the best player available? Do you want to add a receiver for Drake May? There's a lot of different directions the Patriots could go. And because there's so many different directions they can go and they have a young quarterback, I personally am going to follow my board. And if there's a young quarterback that kind of can overcome not the greatest offensive line, I do think Drake May is one of those guys who can improvise, who has good pocket presence, who can play make. So I'm going to pass on Will Campbell, Armand Membu, because I just simply don't have them in the same tier as some of the prospects that are still on the board above them. And we're going to take Mason Graham, interior defensive lineman. Look, Christian Barmore, love him. There's obviously health concerns there. Even if he does come back, you get these two guys paired up together and you can have one of the most diabolical interior duos in football. beefing up that defensive line is one of the best things you can do. And Mason Graham, to me, is the 4th overall prospect in this class. Ashton Jeanty sits at 2, but do you take a running back with the 4th overall pick when you're a team that clearly has needs across the board? You can make the argument, but I don't think you do it. I think you take Mason Graham. I do. That puts the Jaguars in a very interesting position, my team, my hometown team here, because Mason Graham is the guy that's usually almost always there at 5 that I think would be a great fit for the Jags. Do you take Ashton Jeanty at 5 overall, knowing this is a deep running back class, knowing that your GM and your head coach have both coached mid-round running backs to great success lately? Right? That's a tough pill to swallow, in my opinion. I think the Jaguars in this situation would love to trade down, but I don't think they're going to have any suitors. So we're looking at potentially drafting someone who does not play a premium position, because look, as much as I like T-Mac, he's not that high on my board to take at 5 overall. As much as I love Luther Burden, who is my wide receiver 1, if you're talking about Travis Hunter as only a corner, my wide receiver 2, if you're including Travis Hunter in that conversation, I still think it's just a tad bit early for that. Again, Ashton Jeanty is the 2nd ranked prospect on my board. Which teams outside of the Lions that have drafted a running back this highly have really found great success lately? It's a tricky proposition. It really is. Now, the other options here, Will Campbell, just a tad bit early for him. He is a top 10 prospect for me. Malachi Starks in this range, Tyler Warren in this range for me, and yeah, Will Johnson in this range for me. I think that Will Johnson is just honestly being way overthought. His tape, when he is at his best, when he is healthy, is as good as anyone's in this class, quite frankly. So Will Johnson could be the pick for me. Now, love Jarian Jones, love Jordan Lewis, Tyson Campbell. I think Will Johnson probably pretty quickly takes over the reins as the outside starting cornerback opposite Tyson Campbell, probably immediately, which would stink for Jarian Jones, who does have a nice trajectory moving forward. But that's an interesting one. Luther Burden is a top 10 prospect for me. That might be the direction I'd go, just because the fit is so strong. Playing opposite Brian Thomas Jr., you can put him in the slot, you can put him at Z, you can put him at X. I think with his strength, he's got explosiveness, tremendous hands. I think this is actually the direction I would go. Again, if you take a running back at 5 overall, when you have Travis Etienne and Tank Bigsby, you are already paying that player basically top of market. If you take a receiver at 5 overall, they're nowhere near the top of the receiver market. So the competitive advantage you get if that player hits in a big way from a roster construction standpoint is much greater. So yeah, we're going to actually go Luther Burden here. Talked myself into it on the clock. I think Luther Burden's going to be fantastic. And to have Luther Burden paired with Brian Thomas Jr. for Trevor Lawrence, as much as I love Ashton Jeanty, there are going to be very, very good running backs later on. So at 6, the Raiders sit here, and now Ashton Jeanty still available. I think they have a good offensive line. They have Geno Smith. Obviously, they could use receiver in a big way, I think. It's not completely barren because you do have Brock Bowers. You do have the veteran there from NC State, who I'm drawing a blank on his name right now, but y'all know who I'm talking about. Was a big fan of him in the draft, and he's had a nice career. But to me, you could still go receiver. I think T-Mac would be a lot of fun. Geno Smith likes to put the ball down the field. I think T-Mac could give you some of that. Ashton Jeanty, I think, could be really good in this offense. Again, this is not what I think they will do, but what I would do for them. I do think that they have a lot more of a barren running back room. I think that it's a bigger need for them. I think that that could be the direction we go. Because even though I think running back is devalued in a big way, there's no question about it, I can't let Jeanty fall too far just because he's too good. When it comes to affecting the game, I don't know who's going to affect the game a whole lot more at this point than an Ashton Jeanty. Let's do it. At number 7, New York Jets on the clock. Tyler Warren, Malachi Starks, Will Campbell. These are my top-rated prospects, and along with Will Johnson. I think that obviously they list quarterback as a big need here. I think Justin Fields is going to be their quarterback this year. We'll see how that plays out. I'm still a Justin Fields truther. I would like to get him another weapon. They could use a tight end in a big way, I think. They could also use Will Campbell, who I think in this range makes sense. Tyler Warren, though, this is an unbelievable talent who is going to help out your run game. He's going to help out your physicality. He's going to bring that grit that I think Aaron Glenn's looking for coming from Detroit. Tyler Warren to the New York Jets. At 8, the Carolina Panthers. I know that every time I do a Panthers mock draft and I send them a offensive player, Panthers fans get really irritated with me. At this point in the draft, though, I think you could do it with Tet. But I would actually lean probably more towards Will Johnson, playing opposite J.C. Horn. I like that fit a lot. Being way overthought. He's one of the smart. I mean, if Travis Hunter wasn't in this class, I think Will Johnson would be CB1, and I think he would also be viewed as the smartest cornerback, and he still might. I mean, he has got incredible understanding of how offenses are trying to attack. He's got the size, the length. I think he has the athleticism to get the job done at an extremely high level. Now, the New Orleans Saints, I know that everybody's starting to talk about them taking Shedeur Sanders. Again, that's not what I would do in this situation. I don't think Shedeur Sanders gives you this huge ceiling advantage over some of the other guys that you could get maybe later in the draft. There is probably a point where I will take Shedeur Sanders in this first round. I just don't think I would do it at 9 overall with some of the talent that's still on the board. Walter Nolan, to me, what Walter Nolan becomes in the NFL is going to come down to two things. It's going to come down to his coaching and the person, which I don't know Walter Nolan. I don't know any of these prospects personally. But if Walter Nolan is dedicated to becoming the best football player he can be, there is no question in my mind that he will be a top 5, top 10 interior pass rusher in the NFL. He's just simply too physically gifted to not become that. That's a big bet to make, though, when there's some guys on the board, I think, that probably project a little bit stronger. Obviously they just signed Justin Reed, so they're probably not going to take a swing on a safety early on. You look at, I do love Derek Harmon, which they could use a defensive lineman. They could use a wide receiver. They could use, it says running back here. Obviously, I don't know that that's where I would go, certainly based on how the board has fallen. T-Mac, pretty close to this range, but they've got some receiver talent. I mean, I know Chris Olave's had concussion stuff. They do have Rashid Shaheed. I would not be mad at them for taking Derek Harmon. And I know he's ranked all the way down at 42 here, which is crazy to me. But Walter Nolan has the ceiling. Again, I don't have the privilege of knowing these people, Walter Nolan, the person. If I feel like I can coach Walter Nolan and get the most out of him, that's who I'm taking here, in all likelihood. He's in my early teens on my board. Again, I would like to take a Malachi Starks, but not the best fit with what the Saints have on their roster. Now, Malachi Starks to the Bears makes sense. Kevin Byard up there in age. You have Jaquan Brisker getting Starks and Brisker there long term, I think makes a ton of sense. Derek Harmon could make sense. Obviously, Walter Nolan off the board. I think Ashton Genty would have made sense for them. I do not think you'd take like an Amarian Hampton or somebody else this high. Yeah, we're going to go Malachi Starks. The safety overthink in the NFL draft is just absolutely I don't get it. Malachi Starks has been unbelievable on tape since his freshman year. And a lot of versatility on the back end for him, and playmaking ability, consistency, everything you're looking for. I love Josh Simmons to the San Francisco 49ers. I absolutely love it. I think getting him in the same room with arguably the greatest tackle of our generation, certainly, Trent Williams, one of the best tackles we've ever seen in a very, very long time. Yeah, I love Josh Simmons. I know that he's coming off the knee injury. I don't really care. Get Josh Simmons in there, and I think you're going to have a really fruitful present and future as soon as you get him on the field. Now, the Dallas Cowboys, this is where I really like T-Mac, Tedero McMillan, because you pair him up with the guys you have, you get Dak another weapon. I think that this would be a move that would really kind of push them in the right direction. Get that offense really jump-started. And I think he complements CD very well. At 13, the Dolphins are a very interesting pick. They need help on the interior of their offensive line, on the offensive line in general. They need help at a lot of spots. This is where I could not pass on Will Campbell. I would rather put Will Campbell out there all day than Patrick Paul at tackle. I would rather put Will Campbell out there at guard than Liam Eichenberg. Like, let's go. Let's go. At 14, yeah, the Colts, Colston Loveland. Easy pick for me. It really is. And this is the range I think he should come off the board. Where is he? There he is. Unbelievable talent as a receiving tight end. He's got a little versatility to him. Like he can block. That's never going to be his calling card, but yeah, big fan of that. And then that leaves the Falcons with Donovan Ezraku, who is, I love him. I absolutely love him. He is not the strongest dude out there, but he has the length. He has the natural leverage. He has every pass rush move in the book, and he has very good testing numbers. He's a good athlete. He shined. He shined throughout this pre-draft process. I would love that for them. They finally draft that edge player that they've been looking for so long. All right, so Jahdae Barron's still on the board for the Cardinals. To me, when I look at my cornerback rankings, I would wait. I think there's so many guys who you could get that I look at Trey Amos, Benjamin Morrison, Maxwell Harrison, Savon Ravel, Darian Porter, Azareé Thomas, and Jacob Parrish as for sure starters in this league, and there's some other guys who could be as well. I don't think Jahdae Barron gives you that much of an advantage, certainly not physically, over some of those guys. You look at the defensive interior. Derek Harmon, I would love this for them. He's such a good football player. So well-rounded, strength, length, good run defender, good pass rusher, athletic as all get out. Derek Harmon to the Arizona Cardinals. Cincinnati Bengals. They could certainly use some help, to say the least. They need to upgrade their run defense. They need to get just better football players. And this is, again, this draft is kind of where I can kind of stamp my thoughts in ink with where I think players deserve to come off the board and kind of how they fit within this draft landscape. And I know it's not going to look like consensus. It's not going to look anything like consensus. But I think Darius Alexander, even though he's 25, belongs in this range. I think Omar Norman Lott belongs pretty close to this. Kenneth Grant, to me, that's a very specific type of player. Even though he does have unbelievable quickness and nimbleness at his size, he's still going to be more of a nose tackle than anything else, right? Now, you look at edge, you could certainly help your guy out there, Trey Hendrickson. I love Nick Scorton. Underrated as all get out, Nick Scorton is. Just go look at that Purdue tape in 2023. That is a behemoth. And a guy who can really rush from all over the place. I think that would help them out a lot, both in the run defense department and in the pass rush department. And I'm sprinting to the board here, turning in the Gray Zabel pick, I think. I love Gray Zabel's game. I think he would be so good for the Seattle Seahawks. And the versatility he brings, unmatched. All right. Tampa Bay Buccaneers. This is where our first off-ball linebacker is going to come off the board, but it's probably not the off-ball linebacker you're thinking. Jihad Campbell is the consensus off-ball linebacker 1. Jalen Walker. To me, Jalen Walker is just too confusing of a projection because it's not like you have elite physical traits. It's not like you have unbelievable skill as an off-ball linebacker or as an edge rusher. That's where I stand on Jalen Walker, unfortunately, even though everyone talks about his leadership, his personality, all that stuff. My off-ball linebacker 1, without question, is Carson Schlesinger. He is the best coverage linebacker I've ever watched, I think. Honestly. Both from a physical standpoint and mentally. Does not miss tackles. I think he's just going to be a really, really good starting linebacker for a really long time. And I think he has unbelievable upside. Get him learning from Levante David as well. That's big time. So Denver Broncos are on the clock. A lot of good options overall for them. I wouldn't go running back here just because, again, is Omarion Hampton that much better than what you're going to be able to get in round 2? I don't think so. And I actually love Travion Henderson for the Broncos for Sean Payton offense. I really do. There's some other guys like that could fit too. Emeka Ibuka would be a great addition here, I think, to help out Bo Nix long-term and short-term. I think you look at Matthew Golden as well, the speedster out of Texas. A lot of different ways you could do it here. I think Matthew Golden would be really fun to complement the receiving room that they do have, to complement Cortland Sutton, assuming there's no reason to move on from him at this point. Matthew Golden. I like that a lot. Just bringing that element to the offense that is really difficult to deal with as an opposing team. Now, the Steelers, could Shedeur Sanders be the Steelers quarterback? To me, this is starting to be a range where he makes sense. And is Aaron Rodgers going to be a Steeler? Should that impact their future at all? I don't know. I like what they've done with the offensive line to the point that maybe Shedeur Sanders could feel a lot more comfortable behind the Steelers' offensive line than he did in college behind a really bad offensive line. If you do this, you got to support him, though. You got to probably go get another receiver because, you got DK and Pickens, but that's some redundancy in the skill set. Steelers had some success with a former Colorado Buffaloes quarterback in the 90s. Had some fun, at least. Let's go Shedeur Sanders. All right. 22, Los Angeles Chargers. I think another receiving piece would be huge for them. I also think, Kenneth Grant would make a lot of sense. You look at pairing Emeka Ibuka with Ladd McConkey. I like that a good bit. Armand Membu, he's starting to fall past a point that I don't think he really should, so he's going to come off the board at some point for us here soon as well. Jahdae Barron could go in this range. You lost out on both of the top 2 tight ends, although I do love Mason Taylor, Elijah Arroyo, and Terrence Ferguson. Big fan of all those guys. if we're taking a player we just know we're hitting on, I think it's Emeka Ibuka, and I don't think it's too redundant. I think he can play a lot of Z. I think you can have him and McConkey on the field at the same time and really help out Justin Herbert in a big way. I would love Darius Alexander, Kenneth Grant. All these guys are studs on the interior of the defensive line. But I think you can wait on that potentially just with the depth of this class. Yeah, let's plug in Emeka Ibuka. He does not deserve to fall much farther than this. And Jahdae Barron makes a lot of sense to me for the Green Bay Packers. We don't know what's happening with Jair. It seems like he's probably not going to be there. But Jahdae Barron, if they do move on from Jair, I think could do a lot for you. And he does deserve to go in this range. When you look at edge, Mike Green, James Pierce Jr. don't necessarily fit their prototypes. I do like Mykel Williams a lot. I think he's going to bring a level of run defense and upside as a pass rusher that you get excited about, kind of in that Trayvon Walker. Similar to Trayvon, but not the same. I know they both went to Georgia. They both project as edge, but they're not the same exact guys. Trayvon was a little bigger, a little freakier athletically. I do think James Pierce Jr., again, this is what I would do. So I do think James Pierce Jr., if you're comfortable with the play, similar to Walter Nolan, if you're comfortable with the person, James Pierce Jr. is going to be a problem as an edge rusher in the NFL. His ability to threaten the edge, threaten the outside shoulder of tackles is unparalleled in this class. And he has the ability to cross the face because you're so worried about him getting around you on your outside shoulder. He can cross your face and get into the quarterback's lap in a heartbeat. He also has the inside spin counter. I think James Pierce Jr. is going to be a dominant pass rusher. Again, this is as long as you can sell yourself on the person you're getting, which there are character concerns according to tons of reports. I do think he's a better prospect than James Pierce or than Mike Green. Again, just purely off of the tape. More dominant speed. Now, Minnesota Vikings, I like Jahdae Barron a lot for them as well. I like Darius Alexander. I like all these interior guys. I think Jahdae Barron would be pretty big time. They lost some guys on the back end there. This is our Armand Mimbu spot, I think. Houston Texans. Tackle, I think he has the versatility to play guard for you if you need him to. That's the spot. Los Angeles Rams. They've got some interesting needs potentially long term. I think Josh Connerly in this range makes a lot of sense. I think Donovan Jackson. I'm not as high on Kelvin Banks. I think that, Jihad Campbell, if you feel like you can weaponize that skill set. What is the most Rams pick here? It's a tough one. I really liked Carson Schlesinger to them, but he didn't make it. Cooper Kupp gone, but they brought in Devontae, right? So that's not an immediate need along with Puka Nacua. Is there a corner they feel like could come in and kind of change things for them? I think Savon Ravel out of East Carolina should be off the board at this point. He dealt with the injury. Let's do that. Tyler Booker feels like a Raven. Straight up, he does in a big way to me. Tyler Booker, I love his game, and he's not going to be the best outside zone guy, but if you're going to get gap scheme runs going, he's going to be big time, and he's going to be able to protect Lamar Jackson. Love the attitude he brings to the field. Would have liked him for the interior for the Lions too, depending on how they want to kind of run the football moving forward. Mike Green could be a Lion. Compliment Aiden Hutchinson. Michael Williams. That would be a lot of fun. I mean, I think he plays that way. We haven't talked about Shamar Stewart yet today. I'm just not really as high on Shamar Stewart. I know he's got all the physical traits, but I'm not really sold. Is there a receiver that needs to come off the board? Not necessarily. I think Jaden Higgins would be cool. Very cool, actually. And there's questions about, Mike Green's character off the field too. Again, I'm not privy to any of that stuff. I don't know these people personally. But yeah, I think Mike Green could be a fit for them. Let's see if interior. Tate Ratledge, Jared Wilson. I like these guys. Offensive tackle. Is there somebody listed? Donovan Jackson, I think, would be a really good fit for them. Make sure you're continuing to build up that infrastructure of the offensive line, which is the identity of the Detroit Lions. I do like that. All right. Washington Commanders, I would take Kelvin Banks here. This is something I kind of just... He'll probably come off the board before this, but if he's there, I think they'll take him. And predictively, I think that's the right range for Kelvin Banks. I worry a little bit about the fact that he doesn't have to vertical set. He does fall off blocks a good bit, but I do like a whole lot of what I see on tape from him as well. So it's a complicated evaluation for me in that regard. The Buffalo Bills could use edge. They could use off-ball linebacker. I think Jihad Campbell, I think Mike Green would both be great fits for them. I think that Trey Amos would be a great fit for them. When it comes to all those prospects, I think Amos is the best one. I think having Amos and having Christian Benford back there would be pretty awesome pairing. Now, the Kansas City Chiefs, they could take Kenneth Grant. Josh Connerly still on the board. I think that's the direction they should probably go. And this is the range I have him. I think he could go a little earlier. I think he could go a little later. But they really should do their best to get somebody who can pass protect at a high level at left tackle. And I think he has the ability and the potential to do that. Now, who are the Philadelphia Eagles going to steal? Who are they going to draft that just shouldn't be on the board? It's got to be Michael. And honestly, I have Michael Williams higher than this on my board. Not significantly. I have him in like the early 20s. Why not? It's Athens North in Philadelphia. So that'll do it for this one. We'll run through it. Yeah. Cam Ward at 1 to the Titans. Travis Hunter at 2 to the Browns. And again, this is not predictive. This is what I would do. Abdul Carter to the Giants. Mason Graham to the Patriots, Luther Burden to the Jaguars, Ashton Jeanty to the Raiders, Tyler Warren to the Jets, Will Johnson to the Panthers, Walter Nolan to the Saints, Malachi Starks to the Bears, Josh Simmons to the 49ers, T-Mac Tedero McMillan to the Cowboys, Will Campbell to the Dolphins, Colston Loveland to the Indianapolis Colts, Donovan Ezraku to the Falcons, Derek Harmon to the Cardinals, Nick Scorton to the Bengals, Gray Zabel to the Seahawks, Carson Schlesinger, the heir apparent in Tampa, Matthew Golden to the Denver Broncos, Shedeur Sanders to the Steelers, Emeka Ibuka to the Chargers, James Pierce Jr. to the Green Bay Packers, Jahdae Barron to the Vikings, Armand Membu to the Houston Texans, Savon Ravel to the Los Angeles Rams, Tyler Booker to the Ravens, Donovan Jackson to the Lions, Kelvin Banks to the Commanders, Trey Amos to the Buffalo Bills, Josh Connerly to the Chiefs, and Michael Williams, of course, the Georgia Bulldog, to the Philadelphia Eagles. That's what I would do. That's kind of how a sneak peek at my board, how I value these prospects. Let me know what you think in the comment section below. Really appreciate y'all being here. Please hit that like and subscribe button. Y'all have a good one.